good to go. High Stakes Takes back again on this huge Sunday in sports. Let's get to it. Huge Sunday show. We got 9 locks across 7 soccer leagues. We got 8 NFL locks, 8 more props, DFS locks, DFS value plays. Last week, in the money again on DFS. Shout out FanDuel. 24 of my last 34 locks have hit. Crazy on a crazy cooking streak. Bruh, that's 71%. Boosting that 63% back up. It's going to be hard to fluctuate that, but you know this isn't a show that just gives you a few locks. We're coming every day. Every time we have a show, at least 10 plus locks, unless it's a slow day. But, bruh, that cooking. What a day it's going to be. Brady returning to Foxborough, playing at Gillette, versus Belichick. And guess who's going to be there? Let's fucking go. Me and Branks, Branks, packing Hammonds, all that. In the mix. 20? Sunday night football? Let's fucking go. Let's have a day, boys. Make it rain. So, absolutely insane day. How we want to kick things off? DFS locks and sleepers. We'll get right into it. Back-to-back weeks in the money. Locks all over. Couple sleepers don't hit, but those are them sleepers, really boom or bust value plays. We sent a couple early locks early. Well, obviously that early. But over on Twitter, we just dropped PSG versus Rennes over 2.5. Anderlecht versus Club Brugge. That game kicks off at 7:30, over 2.5. Only post about 25% of the picks on Twitter. All the rest of the locks on the show, so make sure you're telling your friends, liking, subscribing. Fuck with the kid. If you've been hitting, send over your picks, send over the hitters. I love seeing people winning money. So let's get right into it. So for the first quarterback, we got, now this man's a sleeper this week. I'm thinking Teddy Bridgewater. 6,800 on FanDuel, going against the Baltimore Ravens at home. Now the Ravens got the 30th ranked pass defense. We'll kick it over here, look at it quick. 30th ranked pass defense. Even though Teddy Bridgewater didn't have any touchdowns last week, that was the blowout versus the Jets. He had 2 touchdowns in each of his first 2 games. And then in a game which should be a shootout, Baltimore, even though Denver has a good defense, Baltimore should put up points, even though they had a tough time versus the Lions, but sometimes that happens. And you got to make sure you're looking up the latest news on Lamar Jackson, because he was questionable with a back injury, a back flare-up. That's not good, especially for a quarterback who's going to be playing literally every snap on offense. So, and runs as much as he does. So, for this game, I think Baltimore's going to put up points to the point, or even if the game's close, Teddy Bridgewater is still going to have to throw the ball, especially versus a Baltimore run defense who's solid. If we look over here, 79 rushing yards per game given up so far through 3 weeks. Damn, that's absolutely insane. So I'm thinking Denver, even though they just lost KJ Hamler, on top of Jerry Jeudy still being out, I think Denver's going to attack the secondary. They gave up only 192 yards last week, but you played the fucking Lions. I think Teddy Bridgewater in that offense is more balanced, and you have to worry about Noah Fant, so it's not just the wideouts. I'm thinking Teddy Bridgewater at home is going to be a big victory for him. And last time I checked, Denver's sitting +1, one of my locks of the day. So I think it should be a solid game. And if Baltimore does put up points like I'm thinking, Denver's defense has only played the Jets, Jags, and Giants. So, not good teams. And then this is really their first test, even though Von Miller, monster. Patrick Surtain back in there, rookie, absolute beast. And that Denver defense at home, playing at Mile High Stadium, I think this would be a good back and forth game. And Teddy Bridgewater, 6,800, good sleeper. I don't think too many people are going to be on him. And with those first 2 touchdowns in each of the first 2 games, facing the 30th ranked pass defense, lock him in as a sleeper. My next one, the one that actually got locked in my lineup, Matt Ryan, 6,700 versus Washington. Now Washington, 28th ranked pass defense, but Matty Ice, 4 touchdowns in his past 2 games. And that's after the first game. It was tough versus Philly. Didn't get hardly shit going on offense. Rushing, receiving, or fucking passing. So I'm thinking facing a Washington team who just gave up 359 yards to Josh Allen last week. Now, Matt Ryan's no Josh Allen, obviously. But Matt Ryan does throw the ball a lot. He has pass catching running backs for a reason, and Mike Davis and Cordarrelle Patterson. I think he's a guaranteed lock, especially versus Washington, who 28th ranked, giving up 307 passing yards per game. Matt Ryan, certified sleeper for this week. I don't think too many people will be on him, so that means lower percentage pushes you higher in the money. So let's get to it. Now my running back, lock of the week, 7,300 at the 49ers. We got Chris Carson coming into this week, 3 rushing touchdowns over his last 2 games in San Fran. Take a quick look at that. But San Fran, giving up, where they at? 122 rushing yards per game. That's absolutely insane, especially for a defense who should be solid. But I'm thinking on the road, it could be a tough battle. I don't know if it'll hit the over, even though both defenses are kind of shaky and up and down. But I think Chris Carson, they're gonna want to get the game going on the ground, and 3 touchdowns over the past 2. I think he's an absolute lock, absolute stud of the week, lock of the week DFS play. Gonna perform in your fantasy lineup. Now this next one, Daryl Henderson, coming off an injury, missed last week, but over the first 2 games, averaging 15.5 fantasy points per game with TDs in both of them games. We know if these folks getting tutties, they have to be in your lineup, and you have to put them into FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever you do with DFS. Make sure he's in your lineup because Daryl Henderson coming off full practice on Friday, going up against Arizona, divisional matchup. Arizona's giving up 140 rushing yards per game if we look right here. That puts him 29th in the league. Now, Matt Stafford, 4 tutties versus Tampa Bay. Obviously, he's going to throw the ball a lot. And with Sony Michel back in there, I'm not exactly sure that they'll just throw him back in the fire. But I'm thinking he was the top running back. Even though Sony Michel has been serviceable, Daryl Henderson, absolute sleeper this week, especially sitting at 6,000. Now, we remember last week, Saquon, he was 6,000. As soon as he performed like he did, in shout out high stakes takes, we called that. We called him coming out, having it wasn't a crazy breakout game, but yards through the air, yards on the ground, and a touchdown. I think that's his breakout game this year, right? Get that touchdown, get back in the mix. I'm thinking Daryl Henderson, 6,000 again, gonna be a solid play, especially divisional game versus Arizona. Send it. Fucking send it. Let's go. Oh, what's that? What's that? Turn that up. Soundboard back cooking. Let's go. You already know we got the locks. And tonight, it's October. 8:20, Sunday Night Football. You already know it's about to get spooky. That shit's hectic. So, my next little sleeper. I just wrote him down because Kansas City giving up 160 yards per game on the ground, even though last week 77 yards. But I'm thinking Miles Sanders, 6,500, still cheap for a starting running back, going up against Kansas City, who they're going to have to get the run game going. Miles Sanders, you're going to tell me he had 2 rushes last week? And I think he only had what? Almost positive he had 4. Only 4 touches in the whole game. Bro, that's your top running back. And you tell me Jalen Hurts, who's a Russian quarterback himself, even though he did throw for 323 versus Dallas, you've seen how that game went. Defense couldn't stop a thing. And only 2 rushes on the ground, it still don't matter. Even if your team's down 14, right? You're going to have to get the run game going just to open up the passing game. And I think in this game versus Kansas City, Miles Sanders should be utilized more out of the backfield. So half-point PPR on FanDuel, get those extra points. I think sleeper this week at 6,500. Now this next one. Hold up. Monster's just keeping us rocking. So this next one, running back wide receiver, that's perfect for your fantasy lineup in Yahoo or Sleeper or whatever you do for the yearly fantasy. But especially on DFS, where you got Cordarrelle Patterson, 6,000. Just like Daryl Henderson. Now, is this a trend? Are the 6,000 valued running backs and wideouts, are they the actual sleepers? Let's see if we can figure out a trend here. So, Cordarrelle Patterson, he could be a solid stack with Matt Ryan, especially averaging 14 fantasy points per game, going not on the road, he's at home. If he was going on the road to FedEx Field, it would be a tougher game, especially versus Ron Rivera and what should have been a solid defense, but not playing up to par this year. But I think the big point of Cordarrelle Patterson and the Falcons being at home, I think that just plays in perfect. Going up against Washington, who 25th versus the run and 28th versus the pass. Now, you can't expect too much from Cordarrelle Patterson on the ground. Hasn't done much this year. But 11 catches on 14 targets over the past 2 weeks with 140 yards. And then has a rushing and receiving touchdown over that time. So I'm thinking Cordarrelle Patterson, 6,000. He might be a little more highly owned than the other players, but if he's going to be guaranteed work going up against Washington at home, send him. Sleeper value play right there. Now on to actual wide receivers. We got Debo Samuel. Now this is my lock of the week for wideouts. 6,900 going up against Seattle, who 26th ranked pass defense. And you would say, all right, lower half of the league, but not too bad. But last week, 313 yards given up. They've given up 285 yards per game through the air so far. And when you're going up against San Fran, they got running back troubles right now. Yeah, Trey Sermon's going to start, but it's really shaky. And then Elijah Mitchell, he's questionable. They're not going to really get much going on the ground. And versus Seattle team who, 30th ranked rush defense. Now, if you think that's a big stat and that plays has a lot of weight on how you pick your running backs, you have Trey Sermon, who 5,900 this week. Only $100 less than that 6,000, but could be around the whole thing, right? Fluctuate from 5,800 to 6,200 or maybe 5,500 to 6,500. We'll see how the running backs go. But I think those are huge value points right there. Getting running backs in between those two numbers. And if you think Seattle is going to give up a lot of yards on the ground, this could be Trey Sermon rookie breakout game, especially after last week. Seattle gave up 140, gave up 212 on the road, and giving up 155 per game through 3 weeks. What? So, if you think that's a solid value play, throw it out there. But Debo Samuel this year, 30 targets through 3 weeks. That's 10 a game. And catching 20 of those for 334 yards, absolute monster. Granted, he had that huge first week where he had 189 yards through the air. But I'm thinking going up against Seattle, divisional matchup, is going to be one of them games. I think the over-under 52.5 the last time I checked. So let's just make sure there. Yeah, oh, see? Down just a little. They're probably thinking divisional matchup could get some, I don't know, turnovers late or turnovers in the red zone. But I'm thinking both of those teams gonna air it out. It's gonna be a high scoring game. And I can't call who's gonna win that game. Is Russ gonna cook? Or is Jimmy G gonna go out there and straight ball out? You never know with those divisional games, so I'm staying away from that one this week. But Debo Samuel, I think he's a guaranteed lock. He's gonna go off, and at 6,900 compared to, hopefully you don't have to do the, quick shit. Ah, damn. Didn't do it quick. Right? Take me right to my lineup. See? That's so weird how those links bring you right to the lineup. Let's go. Now, I don't usually post my lineup, but this is who I'm rocking with this week. Bro, if you pick the same lineup as me, we got to split ducats. You better give me 50%. I'm just fucking with y'all. But, bro, absolute monster. 6,900. And then you compare that to the other wideouts. Top wideout now, Cooper Kupp. Let's go. We called him last 2 weeks. This week probably have another monster game. But Arizona, it's a little shaky. I'm not picking that game with winners. I think I got the over 54.5. But if you compare them, right? Deontay Johnson, $100 more than Debo. That's absolutely insane. And granted, Johnson gets targets, but you see how that offense has been playing. Those are the little weird things that people are going to pick. It's not going to turn out well. So, Debo Samuel, lock him in as your wideout. My next one, sleeper, Michael Pittman Jr. Now, we called him over the last 2 weeks for prop bets, over 3.5 last week. Disrespectful. Ended up with 6 catches on 12 targets. Has 12 targets in back-to-back weeks. Turning into Wentz's favorite wideout. Now, if we look at him, he's an absolute monster. Now, Indy, it could get tough at Miami, but Miami gave up 38 yards, 386 to Derek Carr last week. And with Jonathan Taylor being banged up, I think they're going to want to throw to Nyheim Hines more. Getting Nyheim Hines rushing on the ground, it's going to get tough. I don't think he's going to get too many yards. I think he will be serviceable this week, especially with Jonathan Taylor banged up, even though he probably will play. And Michael Pittman Jr. caught 14 of those 24 targets. And if we look at him over the past couple weeks, yardage not really there, even though 68 not bad, 123 absolute monster game. But the key stat here is he doesn't have a touchdown. So I think week 4, he is destined to catch a touchdown this week. And at 5,800, that's a sleeper that's producing, getting the targets, that just hasn't found the end zone. Now, if you throw him in there, and I'm gonna mix this lineup up, throw Michael Pittman in for Tim Patrick on a couple occasions. Maybe Patterson doesn't work out this week, even though he's facing what is so far a shitty defense, to be honest. And I'm thinking Michael Pittman, 19th ranked, Receiving, it could get tough. You got Xavier and Howard too. It all depends how Zach Pascal, where he lines up, and where Xavier and Howard, where he's covering. If they do a base defense where he's not shadowing, because he doesn't think Pittman's really like that top of a wideout, then I could see that. But if Pittman's shadowed by Xavier and Howard all game, that's another thing to look out for. And being a sleeper, that's exactly why I didn't put him into this lineup. This is my main lineup. Because if he is shadowed by him, or even seeing 50% of his snaps versus Xavier, can be not a good day for Indy. Because Indy's going to have to get it going on the ground. Zach Pascal, he could do some things. But tight end position, looking scarce. Jack Doyle? Questionable with a back. Only averaging 5.3 fantasy points per game. Mo Alley Cox can't even speak about 1.5 fantasy points per game. Moving on. And my next lock, which expensive obviously, but Davante Adams, 8,100. Let's fucking go. Davante Adams is absolutely gonna eat this week. You got Green Bay at home versus Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers is gonna want to beat Pittsburgh. Big team, even though they haven't been playing well this year. This is a big game for him, especially at home, just because Mike Tomlin coming to town. Ben Roethlisberger. You got Deontay Johnson healthy. Najee Harris has been eating out of the backfield. What do you have, 19 targets last week? No exaggeration. 19 targets last week, caught 14 for 102. He's obviously not going to do that this week, but you see the type of back he can be. And getting 19 targets, especially after only 8 combined targets the first 2 weeks, absolutely insane. But if you open that up, that opens up the run game too, because there's probably a lot of play action where, screen, all of a sudden Najee just dipping out of the backfield on a screen, or even a swing pass with a couple blockers out there, but wideouts have to block, man. Remember in high school, we always have a little session with stock blocking. That shit's insane, and it's tough sometimes. You see the wideouts give up, corner shoots right by him, takes out the running back or the wideout on the screen. That shit's so tough to watch. But Davante Adams, Pittsburgh 20th ranked pass defense. Guaranteed lock this week. I got him in my lineup. In the last couple, tight end position, we said we can't play around with that. We thought we had a certified lock, which would have pushed us, I don't even know where, depending on how Hawkinson could have done. But this is not a game of woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's what you did do last week and how you did perform. And Hawkinson last week, man, let us down. What do you have, 2 targets versus Baltimore? Two targets versus Baltimore. Come on. Absolutely ridiculous. So this week, not playing around with the tight end position. Travis Kelsey versus Philly. Now Philly, solid run defense. Where they at? No way it's top. Did I pass them? Feel like them Spideys just 26th ranked run defense. Not the best, huh? Is it their pass defense that's solid? Surprisingly solid, yeah. So their pass defense, which you're playing Patty Mahomes, so it doesn't really matter how your pass defense is. But 5th ranked, only giving up 181 through the air. Bro, I do not think Malcolm Jenkins is going to be able to cover Travis Kelsey. 0% chance. They're obviously going to shadow him. But how do you shadow him and Tyreek Hill? And then account for Clyde Edwards-Helaire out of the backfield. And then account for McCole Hardman. And then Josh Gordon, obviously not going to play this week. But he was just signed by Kansas City. How the fuck are you going to stop him? And Josh Gordon, we know how he can perform. So hopefully he's just been getting right. You know, he got his ups and downs. Just like everybody, right? So it's good to see him back out there. And it's obviously, I don't know. I won't say obviously, but it's clear he got his shit together now, and it's dope to see the NFL want to give him so many opportunities. It's kind of crazy to see. It makes you question some shit, but it's dope to see him back out there for the Kansas City Chiefs. And once he actually gets acclimated with Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, a little underneath, shifty, wide out, Kelsey, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, if he could get back running like he was last week, 17 for 100, another little sleeper if you want. Because Philly, it's the opposite. 26th ranked run defense, giving up 134 yards per game on the ground. Gave up 160 yards on the ground last week. Damn. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he could do his thing. And I think I have a prop bet too. Give you a little early prop bet. Edwards-Helaire, combined rushing and receiving, 76.5. We hit Eckler last week. So this week, lock in Clyde Edwards-Helaire over 76.5 rushing and receiving combined. Send it. Let's fucking go. And Edwards-Helaire, coming off that 17 rush 100-yard game with a tutty. That boy out there balling is crazy. All them rushes and all them yards on the ground. He caught his touchdown through the air. So, shows he's getting a little bit of work. I only think he got like 2 catches, but he's solid. Solid player. Where's he at? Right there. I just seen him. See, 2 catches on 2 targets. Not really a factor through the air, but if they start factoring them in, getting them out of the backfield, that could be a little change of pace for that offense too. And 17 rushes for 100 yards versus the Chargers. And what was a solid defense. Let's see what the Chargers have been giving up on the ground. The worst. 170 yards per game on the ground. Sheesh. Who the fuck are they playing this week? Chargers. Oh, Monday night versus Oakland. Nope, versus Vegas Raiders. That's absolutely insane. So, obviously, these FanDuel lineups, they don't factor in. Unless you do a Thursday to Monday, which I don't really do much. But looking at it, look at that shit. 170 yards per game. If Josh Jacobs is not playing, and it said he's game time decisions, so all the people that I've seen drop Peyton Barber just been scooping, because you know how those game time decisions are. He gets out there, one wrong move, tweaks his injury, he's not playing. There's no chance. And we just seen what Gronk was missing. Couple practices, said he was doubtful, and all of a sudden he returned to practice, but I guess it was more like a walkthrough, and now comes out 2 cracked ribs last week on that ill hit, and not playing tonight. So that's another one of my little sneaky picks. Pats are gonna cover 7 points tonight, especially with, like, even though Richard Sherman is on that secondary now, said he's gonna be playing. I don't know how much, but I don't think it's gonna be that big. I think so many people are gonna be slamming Tampa Bay to cover that 7.5, but there's no chance. There's no chance they're gonna cover that. And let's see if it did shift. It's at 7. That shit's hectic. 49.5. I don't know if Tom Brady comes out in straight ball. I know he's having a crazy season, but bro, I can't wait to see that shit live. And he's gonna break the record. He's gonna break the record tonight. NFL passing yards record. Only needs 68 more. Imagine he doesn't break it. That would just be the storyline of the fucking game if he doesn't break that. And it's against the Pats on the road. So, for tight ends, not playing around, send Kelsey. Went into a little Chiefs tangent talking about their weapons and what they could be with Josh Gordon. But defense and special teams was one of my top waiver ads on the show. Dallas 3,800 versus Carolina. Carolina missing McCaffrey, rookie running back. And Dallas has 2 picks in all 3 games this year. Played solid versus Philly, even though they did give up 21 points. That's going to happen, especially when the Cowboys are putting up as many points as they are. But absolute stud of a defense so far. I don't think much will change. They're the 6th best on fantasy. And they average in 9 fantasy points per game. And for that defense, that should be more, but they have been giving up points. Versus Carolina, though, missing their top player, Sam Darnold, we know what he can do. And I'm talking about throwing picks. So I think he'll definitely throw a pick in this game. I'm not going to bet against them. The most I'll do is throw out maybe a fantasy player against my squad or put out a fantasy defense. But if you want a solid pick, solid prop bet, over a half, basically, Sam Darnold to throw a pick in the game, I think it's at minus 150. Only has 1 pick this year, but Dallas, you see they pick off the ball. Their secondary is solid. Trayvon Diggs is an absolute animal. That boy hitting with that. You know what I'm saying? That boy is nothing to be played with over there. That number 7, those single-digit numbers looking shifty out there, looking straight nifty. So, Cowboys, I think they're gonna do the damn thing tonight. Or I think the game's out 1. Been up like hours straight. Just grinding. This shit don't stop. Don't even... If it wasn't football, I promise I wouldn't know. What's today? Sunday, Saturday, shit. I couldn't even tell you. But, my early lock. That's absolutely insane. Rennes versus PSG. Where the fuck the goals at? Fuck it. Back in to the NFL locks. Now, we got 8 locks for y'all. We're going to go through them kind of quick. First one, we got Atlanta, 1.5 at home versus Washington. Now, if Atlanta can't stop the run and Gibson has a hell of a game, it's going to be tough. But I think Atlanta's defense is a decent defense. They could get after the quarterback. Washington, Taylor Heinicke, he can make some basically, even though he's not a rookie, is basically rookie mistakes at times, forcing the ball in there. So I'm thinking Atlanta at home. Atlanta will be able to put up points. I'm going to take them plus 1.5. Lock it in. High stakes is back on this Sunday. Let's get cooking. Other 1 o'clock game. Titans, even though they're going on the road, you're facing the Jets. This is one of them games I'm weary about the spread, just like that Bengals game. And the Titans, they do have Derrick Henry, but if you look at the Jets' run defense, right? Only giving up 110 on the ground. Their pass defense, I think, is even better. Yeah, only giving up 217 through the air. And we know Tannehill, not the best quarterback. Obviously, plays to the best of his ability when the run game's going. But missing A.J. Brown, missing Julio Jones, they are not going to cover that spread. And I'm going to take Tennessee Titans on the money line, even though that could even get sketchy. Like, imagine Zach Wilson gets his first dub. And there's mad people that picked up Tennessee's defense. I don't think they're going to do well this week. They have some stars on their defense, but Zach Wilson, when you got to worry about Corey Davis, when you got to worry about Braxton Berrios eating in the slot, I don't know, man. This one's going to get sketchy. I think Crowder, too. If we go over here, even he's questionable. Could he make his return? Said he's questionable, but he's likely to play, barring any setbacks. So, I'm thinking, with Crowder back, you're going to have to worry about him, too. I don't know. If they can't get their run game going, man, it's gonna be tough. Back again. I don't know what the fuck happened. That should just stop recording. But back, I'm taking Titans minus 270, even though that could get sketchy. And Indy at Miami. This is my next lock. Now, Indy plus 2.5. Has that changed at all? Not really. I think Miami, even though they have a decent defense, now, where are they at? Miami, 19th versus the pass. I think their rush is lacking, I'm pretty sure. So their rush defense lacking. If Jonathan Taylor does play, this will probably shift, maybe 1.5. So early on, Indy, even though they're going on the road, you don't have any weather to worry about. And Miami's still playing with Jacoby Brissett. Indy's defense should step up. Their defense is solid. Hasn't really showed it over the last 2 weeks, giving up 140 on the ground. And how much do they? Only 233 through the air. So if Miami were to win, they would have to get Jalen Waddle going. Gaskin breaking at least 100 yards. I don't see that happening. So in this game, Wentz battling through injuries. Pittman, Zach Pascal, not much of a tight end, but 2 running backs where you got Nyheim Hines out of the backfield. Lock in Indianapolis plus 2.5. Let's go. On the road versus Miami. Let's eat. And them even money line. I see him winning that game. So Messi hits the crossbar on this free kick versus Rennes. That's absolutely wild. They're losing 1-0 at half. Oh my God. Good thing we just went with goals in that one. Was Club Brugge up 1-0. Let's go. Hitters all over. Let's fucking go. We might even see live updates by the end of this show. This shit might go for hour 15. Maybe tops an hour 30. But feel like we moved through this shit smooth. And next lock, Saints at home versus the Giants. Now, we've seen how the Saints play versus the Pats on the road. Now the Saints traveling back home, facing the Giants, which Giants not going to do much. Saints has been top tier on defense this year. Now, New Orleans only giving up 60 yards per game on the ground. Saquon's going to have a tough day. If Daniel Jones could break a couple runs, could boost his fan. I don't think Daniel Jones would be too bad in this game. But Saquon probably going to have a tough day. And Saints are going to put up points. Their pass defense only giving up 243 per game through the air. Daniel Jones probably won't eclipse 230. So in this game, Saints, I don't know if they'll cover the spread. I'm thinking the spread in this one's a little too close. It's 7 points. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if it was like, I might take a half point in that game. And then it comes down to a missed extra point. Nah, fuck that. I always stay away from those certain things. Like if it was 6.5, I might take the half point. And if you get a missed extra point and it's a fucking push, then okay, I can live with it. But I cannot live with the missed extra point blowing the spread. I cannot do it. Cannot do it. So I always stay away from that. Saints have too much on offense. Jameis doesn't really have a lot of weapons, but Kamara has been eating this year. Saints defense, top tier, facing the Giants team, traveling on the road. Giants coming off that Thursday night game. Pretty sure. What did Giants say? Actually, coming off that game, see, bro. Thursday night game, we were so lucky with that. But coming off a game versus Atlanta where no tutties, 2 fumbles. Granted, he did throw it 35 times for 266, but guess what? Missing Sterling Shepard. Kadarius Toney could be a sneaky play in DFS, so little inside little tidbit for you. We didn't lock it in, write it down as one of our sleepers, but should have an increased snap count. But it seems like they're trying to only work him in like screens out of the backfield shit. Like, let that man run some routes. Send him deep. So, I'm thinking Saints. I'm thinking Saints at home versus the Giants. Now, minus 340. We seen Napoli blow minus 600 favorite. But at home, I think they'll get it done. Too much firepower on offense with Kamara and Winston that could throw the ball deep. I think Giants, they'll give them a tough game. I don't think they'll cover. So that's why we always, anytime we throw a money line, we're sketched out about the coverage of the spread. And I'm thinking Saints minus 340. Lock them in. Let's go. Now that finishes the 1 o'clock games. On to the 4 o'clock games where we got 3. Arizona versus the Rams. Now, LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals, divisional matchup. This is going to be a game. And with the Cardinals plus 4, they'll probably cover. I can see the Rams winning by like 3 points. Game-winning field goal shit. But Kyler could just go out and ball. The Rams defense, stud of a defense. But giving up 281 yards through the air. Gave up 411 to Brady. And Kyler's no Brady, obviously. But Kyler could get it done through the air. So many targets to throw to. AJ Green coming on a little bit. Christian Kirk. D-Hop. Tight end Max Williams. Out there with the mitts. Not bad at all. So, on the ground, I think that's where the Rams are best. Only 92 per and 35 last week. And Bucks don't really have much of a run game, but 35 yards. It's probably going to get tough for Arizona, but I could see him in a shootout, throwing it through the air, beating the Rams, which is crazy to even say. But Jalen Ramsey is not everything. So, which he does play fucking everywhere. But I'm thinking this game, Arizona will probably cover, but we're staying away from winners in that divisional game. That's just going to be a dope-ass game to watch. And with the over-under at 54.5, I think this is guaranteed to hit the over. This is going to be a shootout. So, lock in over 54.5 in that Rams versus Cardinals game. Can't wait. NFC West matchups. The NFC West is ridiculous, by the way. Deadass. 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, Cardinals. Who the fuck's going to come out of there? Deadass. 4 teams can't make the playoffs, so that's kind of hectic. And how crazy would it be if the Seahawks finished last? Damn. Because 49ers being favored, I think that's a little too close. That minus 2.5, 49ers defense. I don't know, man. I don't know, especially with how the Seahawks run defense has been. That's going to get sketchy. So we stayed away from that game. The next lock we got, Baltimore traveling on the road to Denver. It's going to get tough for them. You've seen how they played versus the Lions. And Lamar with that new back flare-up. I think the Broncos, solidly balanced on offense. Run game, Melvin Gordon and Javonte. And if we go over here, Javonte Williams is absolute monster, right? Hasn't really performed like crazy so far. But I think if he wasn't dealing with the running back tandem with Melvin Gordon there, I think he would produce top, at least RB2 stats. So having both of those guys, even though they lost some wideouts, still got Sutton, still got Tim Patrick, Noah Fant, solid tight end when he's called upon. So I'm thinking Denver +1. That's absolutely ridiculous at home. Especially their defense is way better than the Lions. An East Coast team traveling to Mile High Stadium. It's not going to be pleasant for them. Even though Lamar could say fuck the back, get a quick injection, whatever they do. Then he's out there balling. Hey, next time, maybe we won't flip into the end zone. That was absolutely insane. Granted, just having fun, right? Never know that shit's going to happen, but it sucks because the coach is always going to have that. That's why you don't do that. So, I'm thinking Denver +1. That's probably going to shift to a pick'em game or even Denver being the favorite lock in Denver +1 early. Let's get to it. Now the next lock we got, Green Bay at home versus the Steelers. Steelers been playing like shit so far. Green Bay's defense, not much better. Gave up 17 first half points to Detroit. Versus San Fran, I think they gave up 28 or 29 points last week. Now, Aaron Rodgers, nothing to be played with, obviously. But that game versus San Fran, last 2 weeks, 6 tutties. I'm thinking A-Rod back out there. Devontae Adams, one of my locks of the week in DFS. Aaron Jones. Big Bob Tonyan hasn't been doing much this year. Still stashing him on my fantasy squad, but if he doesn't do shit again, he's a guaranteed drop on next week's episode. I'll tell you that one. So, Green Bay at home versus a Pittsburgh team. Now, this could surprise some people. Thinking this is a game where it could get sketchy. That's why we're staying away from them covering 6 points. Pittsburgh defense. Now, TJ Watt. That's one I wanted to look at. With TJ Watt has been down. Come on, boys. That was last week. I was at the top news. But okay. Sounds like TJ Watt's back in the mix. Okay. If he's back in the mix playing, it's going to get sketchy. They'll probably cover the spread, especially with Deontay Johnson out. And if they work Najee through the air like they have been, guaranteed. So, you could take Pittsburgh +6, because I think this is one of them games where everyone thinks Green Bay is going to win. They're going to slam the -6, and it could hit. But I think Pittsburgh, that defense, even though they're shitty really covering wide receivers and against quarterbacks. And that's obviously where Green Bay is going to thrive. So, even though they could keep it close, Green Bay is guaranteed to win this game at home at Lambeau Field. So, I'm taking Green Bay -280 on the money line. Send it. Let's go. And the last lock of this Sunday, New England at home versus Tampa Bay. Brady's return. Yo, I cannot wait. We'll have pictures on the IG, on the Twitter. Make sure you're following all the pics and all the live updates. Never know how shit's going to go. But with New England +7 at home, the defense has been solid this year. Second ranked pass defense, only giving up 159 through the air. Gave up 110 last week. And on the ground, not the best actually. Giving up 122 yards per game on the ground, 142 last week. You're facing a Tampa Bay defense who doesn't have much of a run game. You've seen with the LA Rams. Only gave up 35 yards. That's tough. They're going to have to get that run game going. You have Ronald Jones and Fournette, who both produced at times last year. I'm not sure how. I mean, obviously, Brady's just out there slanging rock, absolutely having a fucking season, which he does every year, but it's crazy how he's still performing like that. And he's the GOAT. And it's crazy how Tampa Bay, their two letters, I have written down NE, New England versus TB, and I just finished it off with the 12. TB12, because that's really what it is. Bucks weren't really shit. They got rid of Winston, throwing crazy amount of picks. Bring in the GOAT. Bring in Bruce Arians, who does well with quarterbacks, right? Carson Palmer. There's a couple other ones in there too. But Bruce Arians, solid. He likes to throw the ball, as you can see with TB12. And Antonio Brown should be back out there. You got to worry about Godwin. Got to worry about Mike Evans. No Gronk this week. So if Bray is still out there in your fantasy league, which he shouldn't be, I scooped him up in a couple of my leagues. I'm playing him this week. He will have a solid game. And I wouldn't worry too much about O.J. Howard. Seems like he hasn't really gotten the mix yet. But I'm thinking New England At home, Tampa Bay has a shaky secondary. Even though they brought in Richard Sherman, he hasn't played in God knows how long. So definitely something to be sketched out about. And New England, we're going against the grain here. We're taking New England +7 at home. I know that stadium's going to be rocking. Even though he's about to break the record tonight, it's going to be hectic. They're definitely going to have a little tribute. It's going to be a fucking spectacle. Who's not going to be there? I already know Mark Wahlberg's going to be there. Portnoy's going to be in the mix. All the big names going to be out there. So we're going to lock in +7 New England on the spread. And that'll probably shift. Maybe 6.5. Maybe 6. I'm not sure. But we're taking them +7 early. Let's go. And with Cam Brate starting, we'll get right into the prop bets. Cameron Brate's over under on receiving yards, 32.5. Now, that's low for what should be a starting tight end. And when you don't have to worry about Gronk, we've seen how he was performing. Now, Brate is no Gronk, but he can perform when he's called upon. And throughout the playoffs last year, was one of Brady's favorite targets, if we're being honest. And his over-under on catches at only 2.5. That'll probably jump to 3.5. And last week, pretty sure there was a running back. I think it was Kenyon Drake. His receptions, I think they were early at 2.5. We said it was going to shift. We said be sketched out about it. If it does, guess what? It shifted to 3.5. He only had 3 catches, so it only hit the early pick. And with Brate, get it before it shifts. Granted, Sunday night game, have a little bit more time to get it in. But I'm locking in Cameron Brate over 32.5 receiving yards and over 2.5 catches. Let's go. The other props we got, Teddy Bridgewater in that game versus Baltimore. We already know Baltimore 30th ranked pass defense. Right. Oh. Right there. Teddy B sneakily averaging 270 yards per game through the air. That is absolutely incredible for a quarterback. It just gets bounced around from teams since his injury. Basically, Panthers give up on him, send him to Denver, and he's out there balling. So, over there, shit, about to get copyrighted. I don't even know what that was for. But Teddy Bridgewater, his over-under on passing yards, only 242.5. Averaging 275 versus the 30th ranked pass defense. Come on. Lock in over 242.5. Cordarrelle Patterson, rushing and receiving, going up against Washington, has been producing over the past 2 weeks. Now, if we look at Patterson right here, he has 82 yards receiving last week, 58 the week before. But the key stat, 11 catches on 14 targets over those 2 weeks. And getting a little bit on the ground. I think he had, 20 rushing yards a couple weeks ago. Doesn't really do much on the ground at all. Will have his 5 to 7 rushes, but I wouldn't really worry about his ground game. It's his receiving that's going to kick in. But the fact that he does get rushing attempts and receiving and targets, I'm thinking over-under sitting at 60.5 for rushing and receiving yards combined. Lock it in. Over 60.5 for Cordarrelle Patterson. Gonna cook today versus Washington. Guarantee it. Now, Lamar Jackson going on the road versus Denver. Denver has 4 picks in their past 2 games. Lamar Jackson has thrown 3 picks in his last 2 games. His over-under on picks right now sitting 0.5 for plus 100 odds to hit the over. I'm thinking this is guaranteed for him to at least throw 1 pick on the road at Mile High Stadium. Lock it in. Lamar Jackson to throw a pick. Over 0.5 plus 100 odds. I think that's good value. It might shift, but I wouldn't really worry about that shifting too much. If it does shift to minus 105, that just shows you where the money's going. So lock in over a half for Lamar Jackson to throw a pick. We already gave you the Clyde Edwards-Helaire over 76.5 rushing and receiving yards. Versus that Philly defense who's given up 133 yards on the ground. And coming off a week where Edwards-Helaire shows 17 rushes, 100 yards, and a tutty through the air. He will produce if he gets the opportunities like that. And it's not like he didn't in the first 2 weeks. It's just 13, 14 rushes in the first 2 games. You have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. $500 million man. Obviously, they're going to be throwing the ball nonstop. And that Kansas City defense has been giving up points. So they've had to throw the ball. But last week, versus the Chargers, 17 rushes. That could be a plus for him. I'm thinking 76.5. That's a given. Lock it in. Work with me. So, oh shit. And one of our star DFS plays of the week. Last couple prop bets of this week. Debo Samuel versus the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to have to pass the ball. They're going to give up points to Russ Wilson. Russ Wilson is going to be cooking. Chris Carson in our FanDuel lineup will have at least a touchdown with like probably 60, 70 yards on the ground, but he will have his rushing attempts. And San Fran's going to have to throw the ball. So I'm thinking Debo over 5.5 receptions. That's at minus 150. That'll probably stay around there. And for receiving yards, we know if Debo Samuel puts in work and has a crazy good game, it's going to be because he caught at least a 40-yard pass or maybe even a couple 30-yard passes. For his over-under, for receiving yards to only be at 70.5, I think Brandon Ayuk getting integrated more into the offense is a huge plus. Even though I'd watch out for Kittle. See, now Kittle's questionable this week. And damn, he's questionable, expected to play, but with a calf injury that could get aggravated at any time with any wrong cut. Now, him being out there, that's just going to boost Debo Samuel, right? Because Kittle, he's going to be at least double covered. If not, having a few people spying where he's at. And Debo Samuel, he needs that to open up his targets. And I'm thinking over 70.5. And for him to catch 6 passes, that should be a given in a game versus Seattle. Divisional matchup, which should be a back and forth. Lock in over 5.5 receptions and over 70.5 receiving yards for Debo Samuel. Let's go. That's the NFL rack. Let's get it. Locks all over. Killing it. 17 on my last 22 NFL locks have hit. It speaks for itself. I don't have to say anymore. Let's see how this PSG game's going. 2-0 Rennes. Okay. Give me that. One more goal. Lazio just getting blown out, huh? 3-0 to Bologna on the road. No Cero Immobile. That's absolutely ridiculous. How's Club Brugge doing? How's Club Brugge doing over here? Still 1-0. Okay, come on. 2 more goals, boys. Let's get it. But Lazio getting washed, that's absolutely ridiculous. So that kicks us right into the Saturday, which we'll recap quick. Now, a couple games didn't hit. And obviously, I think I'm going to hit because I go through all the games. Like if you see, for my soccer locks, Saint Etienne and Lyon, and then I got the Rennes versus PSG game. This fucking, 7 games? I wanted to go with that Lille and Marseille game, but you never know how that's going to go. So yesterday, Orlando City versus DC United, hell of a game. DC United could have covered that plus a half, but on the road we should have seen. It was a little sketchy. Ended up hitting the over 2.5. The RB Leipzig game absolutely ripped it. We said Leipzig minus 450. It did switch to minus 560. We said add it to the parlay. Hit. Didn't win the first half. We sent that out randomly yesterday. Sometimes we do that shit. But that one didn't hit for the first half. But minus 560 money line. We got it at minus 450 early. And then to cover 1.5 early, which was at minus 150 odds. That shit was easy. But it did shift to minus 2.5, and we still took that too as one of our locks. 3 correct locks on one game. Come on, let's eat. And Chelsea comeback win, hit them to win money line live yesterday. Leeds versus Wofford, what a boring game, huh? 1-0, Leeds with 20 shots, only could put one past them. Probably should have seen with Patrick Benford out. Probably not going to hit the over. Wolves versus Newcastle, so close, 2-1. Could have been a draw, but plus 290 odds. You see why I picked it. They drew in 5 straight meetings. So, Nice versus Brest. We stayed away from the over-under, which it did hit. But Nice to get the win at home hit that one. Just cooking all over. Big cookies. But let's get into the Sunday soccer locks. Now we got to kick off at 9 o'clock. West Ham versus Brentford. Now West Ham minus 120. Those lineups actually probably dropped, huh? Antonio up top. Let's get it. Jared Bowen, Ben Rama, Pablo Fornals, Declan Rice, and Souček. Probably some of the best central defensive midfielders. Zuma, Ogbonna, Cresswell, Kufal is actually in there. Said he was questionable, but now that he is playing, those odds have probably shifted just a bit. Let's see over there. Minus 125. Okay, just a little bit. And we're locking in West Ham. Guess what? Hit 2 at the same time. But West Ham, minus 120, which is now minus 125. Lock it in. Next one. You already know why I'm wearing it. Come on. Liverpool versus Man City. 11:30. Are you kidding me? Now this has shifted even more, right? So Liverpool was plus 180. Has shifted just a little bit to plus 187. Man City stayed at plus 145. Now the handicap bet. I'm going to take Liverpool to stay within a draw. We're staying away from the over-under in this game because I think it could get sketchy. One of those duels between top teams ends in a 1-1 draw or maybe even 0-0. But I think Liverpool will win this game. If it's a close and cagey game early, I will take Liverpool first half when it drops live. But for my lock for this game, you have Liverpool unbeaten in their last 18 games, coming off a 5-1 victory at Porto in the Champions League. But versus Man City, they've let up 4 goals in 2 out of their last 3 meetings. So don't play the best versus Man City. We did have a huge 3-1 victory. I think the same year we won the Champions League or we won the league. We were playing, obviously, because there's levels. There's a level at Liverpool's now where 3-3 draw versus Brentford, you'd never see that. Maybe, you have those games, right, once in a while. Like Man City, they just lost 2-0 to PSG on the road in the Champions League. Those road games get sketchy, but you never expect Man City to not come out of that with at least a point. And Man City pretty much dominated that game, even though the possession was 50-50, had more shots. The offense or attacking is absolutely ridiculous. So I think Liverpool will lock in defensively, even though they're missing Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'm going to lock in Liverpool plus a half at home. Anfield's going to be rocking. Fans back in the stadium. Let's go. Lock it in. Let's fucking go. So, my next one. Shit, gotta fix it. So, my next one. Saint Etienne at home versus Lyon. Now, Lyon playing out of their mind lately. This line has not shifted at all. 245 games, so it's probably going to be a little bit before the shifts. But Lyon at minus 140. They've won 5 of their last 8 games, coming off a 3-1 victory versus Brøndby in the Europa League. Dominant victory. Got goals late, but dominated the whole game. And St. Etienne, they haven't won in their last 10 games on a 5-game losing streak. And they've let up 2+ goals on that current streak with 6 total goals in their last 2 games. Now, if this don't play in perfectly to Lyon, probably I don't see. The over-under that is at 3.5. I'm staying away from that. But Lyon, I could see 1-0, 2-0 victory. I'm going to take Lyon minus 140 on the money line. Send it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's have a day. Absolutely ridiculous amount of locks. And like we said, bro, we can go. Right? 9 soccer locks. We got 8 prop bets, 8 NFL locks. Bro, we could go 0-6, 0-17. You never know. Because prop bets, yeah, they're locks, but they're pretty much flyers too because it's a fucking prop bet. But we still added to the record. And with Lyon, I think they guarantee to smash St. Etienne on the road. Like, I think that's why the over-under is at 3.5. Even though the over is at plus 140, I'd stay away from it. But I could easily see them winning 3-1 on the road. So, if it does drop down to 2.5, lock it in quick because that's going to jump back up. And I have seen that before. So, the next game we got in the Bundesliga, Bielefeld versus Leverkusen. Now, Bielefeld is winless in their last 6 games, facing a Leverkusen team who have won 7 in their last 9 games, coming off a 4-0 victory at Celtic in the Europa League. And they have 3+ goals in 4 out of their last 5 away games. So they perform well on the road. Dealing with some injuries, but their attacking play is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to take, now Leverkusen, minus 145 early. Has it shifted? Has not shifted. So the handicap bet was at minus 135. So I'm going to take that. Just 10 points better to boost the odds. But I'll take them because it's the same thing as money line. Take them minus a half on the road because they have been performing out of their mind, scoring goals. It doesn't matter, home or away, Leverkusen performs. So lock in Leverkusen to cover a half on the road. Let's go. Minus 135 odds. Let's get it. Now, Roma versus Empoli. This one. Empoli's been putting up goals lately. But Roma minus 286, as solid as it gets. And especially when it comes down to individual meetings between teams, you always have to look at that. Roma minus 286 right now. This game's at 12 o'clock. And versus Empoli, even though Empoli has been playing pretty well as of late, they've beat them in 5 of the last 6 meetings. Haven't lost ever at home to Empoli. And they've won 9 of the last 12 meetings all time versus them. So, plays imperfect. Just had a quick little skeeto. Bro, I hate those skeeto bites. Them shits. This shit just annoying, bro. It's come bob and weave on them. So for this game, I think this plays into perfectly. Jose Mourinho and Roma getting a win at home, which could be a big win for them, especially in their Serie A campaign. If you lose this game, which you've never lost to this team, if somehow that happens, bro, those type of games could throw some doubt in your players' minds. But as we said, each team has their games where, like Liverpool giving up 3 goals to Brentford. Right now, if we look live, oh shit, still 2-0. But if we look live, 3-0 now. Bologna, straight baloney. On top of Lazio, that's ridiculous. Club Brugge versus Anderlecht, 1-0 at half. It's getting sketchy on this Sunday. Let's get to it. So, I'm thinking lock in Roma. Minus 286. Absolute studs at home. Winning 9 of the last 12 meetings all time versus Empoli. The next one was Anderlecht versus Club Brugge. Game at 7:30 already kicked off. Now, this next one. Benfica versus Portomonensis. Ripped it again. Probably not. Portomonensis. I think I did it. I think not. But it don't fucking matter. Benfica minus 470 favorites. We got the over-under at 2.5. Minus 160 odds for it to hit the over. Probably going to shift by kickoff. So this being a 1 o'clock game, get it in early. 3 straight wins for Benfica with 3 goals in each of those games. Over 2.5 goals in 8 of the last 9 meetings between these teams. And the over 2.5 has hit in 5 straight games. So over under at 2.5. You already know where we're going with this. Think Benfica will win. So minus 470. Solid play. So we're going to take Benfica minus 470 plus the over 2.5. Send both those. Let's go. Now that's actually 10 locks because we were just reading that live. Benfica's been playing so well. Gotta fucking send them. And the last 2 Saturday locks of the day. For the Slaka slate is in the MLS at 4 o'clock. We got 2 games that we're keyed in on. Sporting KC versus Houston Dynamo and Toronto FC versus the Chicago Fire. Now, Sporting KC, minus 165 favorites, scored 3rd, and this is so far in the MLS, have scored the 3rd most goals in the league with 47. And the Houston Dynamo have given up 41 goals so far this year. The over 2.5 has hit in 5 of the last 6 meetings between these teams. So we're locking in the over 2.5 because we think Sporting KC has been balling out lately. And Houston Dynamo on the road, we see how this gets sometimes, especially with MLS teams on the road, even though New England Revolution, straight matchup proof. Oh, you see that? You see what that means? That little red right there, that means that's a goal. Let's go. Over 2.5 cooking. Early. Send it. Let's fucking go. Who is it by? Kylian Mbappe. That's hilarious, bro. That's crazy how they were still down. They're probably dominating on shots. Nope, even on shots. Even have 1 less goal. Obviously 1 less goal. But 2 less shots on goal. That's absolutely insane for PSG. But over 2.5 hit early. Let's go. Another live hitter on the pod. Send it. So, over 2.5 in 5 of the last 6 meetings between Sporting KC and the Houston Dynamo. Lock in over 2.5. Now at minus 160 odds. Hopefully it didn't shift by the time we've been talking about it. Let's see. Because those minus 160, that could easily shift to 3.5, which it probably will. But lock in over 2.5 in that game. And in the next game, we got Toronto FC versus the Chicago Fire. Last lock of the day. Toronto FC has scored 9 goals in their last 3 home games, with 3 wins in the last 4 games, especially after coming off a 6-game losing streak. Did they turn the tide around? Come on, let's give it up for them. That's hard for a team to do. Yeah, absolutely blowing the season. 6 straight losses, and then 3 wins out of the last 4. Haven't lost in 4 straight. Let's go. Give my own round of applause for that one. That's right. Couple little class for 'em. But versus the Chicago Fire, who only have 1 goal in their last 5 away games. 7-0 goal difference over their last 3 away games. It's tough for the Chicago Fire. Clearly on the road. For the over-under to be 2.5, we took the over 2.5. Solely based on bat hitting in 10 straight competitive meetings between these 2 teams. Now, a streak like that can be broken at any moment. But Toronto FC, lock them in. Ooh, actually, I want to go at Toronto FC right now, right? 9 goals in the last 3 home games, 3 wins out of the last 4. Everything's playing perfect. This might be a 2-2 draw, but it'll definitely hit the over. There's been goals in bunches over the 10 straight meetings. Lock in over 2.5. Let's get to it. That's 10 locks in 7 leagues. 8 prop bets, 8 NFL locks. 17 of my last 22 NFL locks have hit. Let's go. Let's keep eating. Shout out Zeke getting in the end zone, twice? Back to his eating ways. So, going to be a hell of a game today. Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers. Even though I think the Cowboys are going to win, I don't bet against my team. Even though I think Sam Darnold's going to throw a pick, I don't bet it because, bro, who the fuck bets against their team? Nobody. If you do that, that's whole next level to Jenny right there. So that's the Sunday show, back cooking, getting this out early because we have a big day to plan for. Shout out Branks, brother man, in the game tonight, Gillette Stadium, who is not going to be there. If you there, reach out to the kid. We'll link up, tailgate before. You already know how we cooking. So Hot Stakes Takes back again. Shout out JB on the beat. Let's get us out of here with this smooth beat that this man put together. Turn that up for me one time. Let's go. Let's go. Back again.